I'm a week into being on a calorie deficit. Gracious. A week into being on a calorie deficit. I am so hungry. I am so hungry. I am so hungry, chat. So it's actually been going pretty good. I think today my allergies have just been terrible. And just being on a calorie deficit and being dehydrated just kind of equaled like pretty rough gym day. I think I capped out bench press at 335 flat bench. That was pretty tough. That wasn't a lot of fun, but we made it happen. Raw. So yeah, my calorie deficit has been going good. I've been sticking with it. Okay, it's so funny. People are like, oh my goodness, I could tell you've lost weight. No, you can't. I just trimmed my beard. That's really all it is. People are like, you look like you lost weight. I trimmed my beard. I haven't lost any weight yet. But I'm on that calorie deficit and I'm grinding through it, chat. But today has been by far the hardest day. Last night was pretty hard too. Today's been pretty difficult just with work and stress with Instagram and allergies. All three of those things, it's like, I just want good food. It's really wild to me how addicted I am to unhealthy food. Because the food I'm eating now, it's that meal prep stuff. The food I'm eating now is pretty good tasting, and it should be more than enough filling. And I had like 5 chips and a handful of ground beef, so I really shouldn't be hungry. But just that like emotional addiction I have to food is insane, and it's such a flaw in me. And it's like, I don't know, it's an addiction, and it's just crazy to me that I have that addiction. So yeah, today is day 7, and I'm finished. I'm just about done with the day, finished the day strong. I'm probably gonna have some beef and rice when I get back to my apartment, just so I don't like DoorDash at midnight. But yeah, the cut has been good so far. I will say I didn't notice any strength loss last week. I was able to lift everything, hit my weights, everything was Gucci, everything was good. Today, I really struggled with the 315 bench, 335 bench. I think I stopped at 265 on incline. I didn't even do the chest flies today. I kind of left those. I hit my normal. I actually was a little heavier than usual, my curls, just because I could be. But yeah, it's tough. I'm a weekend, and it's just like food. I've always been an emotional eater though, even when I was little, and it's always been like kind of a flaw. A big thing that happened to me, chat. I moved out of my parents' place after school, as you should do. And when I moved out of my parents' place, I kind of didn't have because when you're living at home, you eat what mom makes, and what mom makes is pretty healthy. And when I moved out, I didn't have those restrictions anymore, and so it was like, party, and I've honestly gained a lot of weight since starting this account. It's been wild. DoorDash has been my absolute bane. And I'll be alright, and again, we're gonna get right back to where we started from. So, as silly as it's gonna sound to people who don't understand food addicts, right? I'm replacing eating with other things, such as going outside, touching the grass, making more content for you guys, and reading books, watching movies. I'm trying not to play as many video games these days, just because I think video games are really taking away a lot of time I could be using for other things, but that's neither here nor there. But the other kind of thing I want to talk about too, the topic of health and weight loss is so weirdly loaded and dumb, if I'm being honest, at least on the internet, specifically on the internet, specifically in the gym community. Some people do it better than others. I think Scotty's approach is pretty good. I'm trying to think who else has a pretty good approach about it. Not many other people talk about weight loss, because I thought I heard a cat. Le meow. There's such a toxic duality to weight loss on Instagram specifically, but also gym talk and just in general. There's two kinds of like people who like approach this, and then like a kind of a rare third middle kind. But the first one are what I like to call the string cheese boys. And it's these like really skinny boys, but they've got a little bit of muscle definition, and they kind of post those reels that are like, "You'd rather eat this cookie than look like me." And they got like these funny little they got these funny pancakes under the skin. It's really weird. I'm so sorry. That's so mean. I'm probably gonna cut that out. Broccoli hair boys, those fluffy white boys, fluffy haired white boys, right? And they're like, "You'd rather eat a cookie than look like this." I laugh every time I see those. But then there's the other side too that's like, being fit looks different for everybody. You can be big and fit. And it's like, no, you can't. You can be a heavier than average individual, sure, and be fit. But look, you can't be this fat and fit. And I've never claimed to be a fit person. That's why the bio on my Instagram says a fat guy who lifts. I am obese, and that's just how it is, and it's fine. But I consider the side of social media that is overly accepting of being overweight just as toxic as I do the side of Instagram that's overly mean about it. I think both sides are equally as toxic, because the one side is telling people something that's just not true, and the other side are being dicks and turning people away from fitness. And there's that middle ground. Again, I think Scotty does a pretty good job of his approach. He's a little gentler than I would be, but that's just me. So there's got to be this middle ground, because you can't fix a problem until you address it. So if you won't admit there's a problem, you can't fix it. So if you won't admit this is a problem, then I'm never going to get around to fixing it. So this is kind of me on camera admitting this is a problem. I should not be out of breath after walking a quarter of a mile. I should not be worried about stairs. I should not be sweating in 80-degree weather in the shade. You know, it's a problem. And you have to accept that, but you can't hate yourself. And for a long time I did. And I kind of hated how I looked because I was fat. I hated, you know, just a lot about myself, and I'm working on that. But you can't hate yourself, basically. So you can accept it and be like, all right, I'm overweight, and I accept that that's how it is, and I accept that it's not going to change overnight. And then, once you've accepted the problem, from a healthy mentality, instead of being like, I'm going to change this because I just can't stand who I am, be like, listen, I want to live past 45. I don't want so much strain on my heart. I'd like to be able to maybe jog, you know? And instead of doing that, you know, so instead of just coming from places like, I just hate how I look, rah, just be like, look, this just needs to happen. It's just life, you know? And I feel bad for people trying to bulk in this economy. Because, yeah, I mean, cutting is way more financially accessible than bulking right now. I mean, you can buy like a 25-pound bag of rice at Sam's Club, and if you're a single guy like me, it'll last you over a year. If it's just two of you living together, it's still gonna last you forever if you're cutting. I mean, there's nothing cheaper, chat, than just getting like Aldi's chicken and rice and just living off of that. It sucks. You can lose weight off of that though if you wanted to. That's not what I'm doing. But yeah, so there's and you know, the weird thing is, tangent, that toxic side of fitness that like tries to bully fat people and not being fat. What happened to me was, when I was young, I was verbally very much put down at one point about my weight, and I internalized it. But instead of like taking that harsh criticism and being like, oh, I'm gonna change because terrible things were said about me, instead of that, I internalized it. It was like, well, I'm fat, and I just gave up. And that's the problem with like the bullying side of trying to like, you know, tough love someone into losing weight. It works. It's worked in the past, but it's not healthy. Yeah, it's not healthy, because people like me will internalize that and just be like, well, I'm already fat, so I give up, whatever. More donuts for me, nom, 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 you know? And So you really can't bully them. But on the other side, you can't be too gentle about it either. It's, you know, like in all things, there's a balance, you know. Like, you know, hey buddy, you're kind of fat. Thanks, bro. I know. You should do something about that. Thanks, bro. Love you, bro. Love you too, bro. You know, that kind of thing. There has to, like, the bullying doesn't work. But you can't be too accepting because some people need that push and be like, hey, bud, you need to lose some of that. And finding that balance is really hard, and I recognize that. Because, again, this is all coming from a place of a guy who's fat, who has a lot of fat, and needs to get rid of it, and just struggling a lot with the mentality. And I know, you know, the worst problem is the noodly the noodly gym bros who are like, just put the fork down. They're right. You know, they're right. And that's the tough part, is like, yeah, you just need to put the fork down. I don't want to put the fork down. Because well, actually, yeah, I'll put the fork down because I use my hands to eat burgers. You know what I mean? So, again, in a perfect world, there wouldn't be like all this mental stuff to losing weight. You'd just be like, why is our flags at half-mast? Oh, the Pope died. Anyway, in a perfect world, you could just do the math and be like, well, time to eat less calories, so my heart beats longer. You know, that's kind of what all it should be, but sadly, that's not all it is. And I really wish it were, but it is not. So, but yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. I don't know. Oh, I kind of want to say a few other things.